those of you in the audience who have not attended one of these hearings recently, let me review our normal procedure. Staff will introduce each item for consideration. If you would like to speak, please fill out the speaker form located on the table in the lobby and indicate the item number and whether you are for or against the item. Please give the form to the clerk seated on my left. The applicant and supporters will be heard first. Those in opposition to the request will be heard next. Then the applicant may be given a chance for rebuttal. Comments should be restricted to pertinent information regarding the agenda item under discussion. If you're an individual, you will have 3 minutes for comments. If you are speaking on behalf of a group, you will have 6 minutes for comments. Speakers should move closer to the podium when their item is being presented by staff. Speakers should identify themselves clearly for the record by stating their name and address. Each speaker should be given respectful and courteous attention. The board may ask questions of speakers or staff members. Information such as pictures, site plans, letters, etc., presented at the public hearing will be kept as part of the public record. I will then ask for a motion from the board. Once a motion has been made and seconded, discussion will be closed to the floor. Following board discussion, a vote will be taken. During voting, board members who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in support of the motion. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 15 days, file an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners through the Planning and Development Division of the Development Services Department. Okay, we're ready for our first item.
For the record, Angie Califer with Planning and Development. Agenda item number 1 is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 26.5 feet for an addition in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District located in the Woodbine subdivision at 4340 Rocky Ridge Place. The proposed screen room addition will be 288 square feet and will encroach 3.5 feet into the required setback. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add to staff comments? If so, I need you to come to the front. You're not required to make comments, but if you want to, we have to get you on the record.
Oh, okay. Well,
Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Monahan, homeowner.
And what's your name, sir?
Michael Monahan,
Homer, okay.
and I'm the homeowner. I just wanted to mention that the area that we're looking for the variance for has a variance power lines behind it, and it opens into a dirt road, so it doesn't abut any particular property. I'm sure somebody owns the land, but and I just thought I would bring that up if that has any bearing on your decision.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Enjoy your, it's passed.
Thank you.
All right, next item.
Item number 2 is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 10 feet for a shed in the R1 AA Single Family Dwelling District located in the Creeksbend subdivision at 1044 Creeksbend Drive. The proposed shed will be 352 square feet and will encroach 20 feet into the required rear yard setback. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Yes. Is there anything you'd like to add? State your name and address, please.
My name is Timothy Hill, 1044 Creeksbend Drive. I have 5 letters of support from HOA and neighboring properties to the, I wanted to hand them in for public, that's about it. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve, we have a second. Any discussion? We'll note that because of the odd angle the house sits on the property, there's not really room to put a shed in without a variance, so. All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Enjoy your shed. Thank you. All right, next item.
Item number 3 is a request for a normal high water line setback variance from 30 feet to 25 feet for an addition in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District located in the Prairie Lake Park subdivision at 405 Prairie Lake Drive. The proposed covered patio will be 616 square feet and will encroach 5 feet into the required setback to the normal high water line. 6 letters of support were received from the adjacent neighbors. And there have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add, sir?
No, it's all done.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion to approve?
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next item.
Item number 4 is a request for a front yard setback variance from 25 feet to 7.5 feet for an addition in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District located in the Prairie Lake Park subdivision at 511 Prairie Lake Drive. The proposed garage addition will be 900 square feet and will encroach 17.5 feet into the required front yard setback. The garage addition must be attached by a 6-foot wide breezeway. And there have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present?
Present.
Is there anything you would like to add?
Nothing further, sir.
All right. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Good luck to you. It's approved.
Thank you.
All right. Next.
Item number 5 is a request for 1, a side yard north setback variance from 20 feet to 11.5 feet, and 2, a side yard south setback variance from 20 feet to 17 feet for a pole screen enclosure in the RC1 Country Homes District located in the Hunt Ridge subdivision at 4025 West Danby Court. The proposed pole screen enclosure will be 3,744 square feet and will encroach 8.5 feet into the minimum required side yard north setback and 3 feet into the minimum required side yard south setback. 2 letters of support were received from the adjacent neighbors, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property. This concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just one quick, one of the, in the justification, variance justification, it says that we're putting a closure around an existing deck.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. That's one thing.
Okay, any other questions for staff? All right, is the applicant present? Good evening, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
D.C. Johnson, 1400 South Ronald Reagan Boulevard in Longwood. This is an interesting property. It actually has 3 zonings on the parcel. There is agriculture, R1 AAA, and RC1, where the back of the house and the existing pool deck sit happens to be in the RC1. If they were in the R1 AAA, we wouldn't be here. But if we, typically, as I'm sure you're aware, when we put in a pool enclosure, we put it across the back of the house, and typically it's from end to end on the home, and it blends well that way. If we had to come in to meet these side setbacks, I mean, obviously the bugs and living on a lake are so bad, which is why they want this. but we want it to blend well with the very nice neighborhood. If we came in 8.5 feet from the edge of the deck, it's going to fall 8.5 feet into the home, and it's a two-story home, and it's going to hit right across a bunch of windows. On the opposite side, if we came in the 3 feet, which is required to make the 20-foot setback, it's going to fall 3 feet in on the deck and right in the center of the stairway that goes up into the first floor of the home. We're trying to keep the place looking really nice. Both neighbors on each side have given consent letters. The reason I don't have more than 2 is because nobody else is affected. The home on the north side is probably 75, 80 feet away. A lot of trees, a lot of foliage between them. They consent. The opposite side, the same way, and the home's about 300 to 400 feet away from this one. That's pretty much all I've got, if anybody has any questions for me.
Okay, and you're just proposing placing it on the edge of the concrete pad?
Yeah, on the existing deck.
Any questions for the applicant's representative? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hathaway.
It was first.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, it's approved. Thank you, sir. All right, next item.
Item number 6 is a request for a height variance from 6.5 feet to 8 feet for a privacy fence in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District located in the Amherst subdivision at 1063 Chesterfield Circle. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a 20-foot utility and landscape easement and will be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter. And there have not been any subject or prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation. I do believe they submitted photos at the end of last week.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just real quick, on the site plan exhibit in our package, there's a bunch of numbers and some color-coded type stuff. Just want to be clear. So is the, what would be the orange near the left side of the property, is that what they're requesting the variance for, the 8-foot
Yes.
fence, and then the rest of it is 6 foot?
Yes.
The green area? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add, sir?
Yes, I do have
Please state your name and address for the record.
Stephen Cassidy, 1063 Chesterfield Circle. I do have a letter of approval from my HOA, and if you bring up the pictures, Tuscaloosa, the road is set like 4 feet higher than my actual property line. If you could tell that right there, it's people can see into my home. So I'm only going to do, if you guys are okay with that, I'm going to do an 8-foot fence for like 4 panels on one side and 4 panels on the other side, and I do have my neighbor, who's the only one would be affected with me today. Thank you.
Any
Yes.
questions for the applicant?
He emailed us a copy or the email from the HOA, but it's just an email from the president.
I got you.
It is.
The HOA meeting hasn't taken place yet, so I'm not sure how that can be official, so I didn't submit it with the,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request?
Sorry, sticky fingers.
Sir, if you're going to speak, I need you to come up, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Eduardo Rodriguez. I am in 1065 Chesterfield Circle. I am the neighbor right next door, which the fence will be put on the other side, and I have no issues with it. I think it's going to look beautiful.
All right, thank
That's
you.
it. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve?
A motion to approve?
Second?
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck, it's approved. All right, next item.
Item number 7 is a request for 1, 2 side yard north and south setback variances from 7.5 feet to 5 feet. 2, a front yard setback variance from 25 feet to 20 feet. And 3, a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 20 feet for a single-family dwelling in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District. The subject property is located in the Thomas addition to Midway subdivision that was platted in 1947. The request to construct a single-family dwelling, approximately 1,901 square feet of livable space. And the subject property is a parcel of record that predated the subdivision regulations located within the Midway target area, which was designated by Seminole County in order to promote new housing opportunities. There have not been any prior variances found for the subject property, and based on the stated findings, staff recommends approval for the request, and this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Well, good evening. If you state your name and address.
Good evening. For the record, Kim Fisher, 1614 White Dove Drive, Winter Springs, Florida. No presentation, but as with last month, this is a series of 3, and so same thing as last month. It's pretty much in order to get the septic tank in there. And thank you, staff, of course. Thanks.
Any questions for the applicant?
You did say you'd be back to see us, so.
This is my second time. I saw you last month, so
I
this is the
remember.
third of 3. So, no, you won't see me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, is approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Good evening. For the record, Hillary Payton, Planning and Development. Item number 8 is 4 variance requests for 251 12 League Circle, which is located in the Sterling Park subdivision. The first request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 3.5 feet. The second is a rear yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 0 feet. The third is a rear yard setback reduction from 10 to 3.5 feet. And the last is a rear yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 0 feet for 4 sheds in the Deer Run Plan development. The request is to bring into compliance the construction of 4 sheds, 200 square feet or smaller, either encroaching entirely into the rear yard setback or 6.5 feet into the rear yard setback. One of the sheds, marked number 4 on the site plan, lies approximately a half foot outside of the rear yard property line and will be required to be moved onto the property in compliance with the board's decision tonight. In 2006, a permit was issued for shed number 3, as the site plan showed it was in compliance with the rear yard setback, and it was then either placed incorrectly or since moved and now requires a variance to remain in its current location 3.5 feet from the rear. The property abuts a greenbelt tract for the community. A code enforcement violation number 20-201 was issued for the structures, resulting in the necessity of this variance. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Yes, come forward, please.
My name is Leslie Young at 251 12 League Circle.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add to staff's presentation?
None.
Okay. What's the construction of those sheds? What's they made out of? Is that metal, wood?
Wood.
Okay. They attached into the ground, they just sitting on the ground and anchored?
They are just attached to the ground.
Okay, so they're just shed anchors holding it to the ground?
Yes.
So it could be picked up and moved?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Young, what we have doesn't reflect comments from your neighbors. Have you spoken to your neighbors about the sheds?
I have.
Yes, sir. What did they tell you?
They have no problem with the shed since it's backed up against the green belt, so none of the neighbors are being affected by it.
Yes, sir. Gotcha. And my last question is Those sheds, I mean, about how long have they been sitting there?
How long, Alice?
Once in 2006, and the other three within the last 3 years.
I'm sorry, ma'am, just a technicality, but I need you to step forward to the microphone and state your name and address, because this is recorded.
I'm causing trouble, I'm sorry.
They might not be able to hear you on the recording.
I do apologize. Alice Young, 251 12 Lee Circle, Castleberry. One been there since 2006, and the other 2 within the last 3 years.
Gotcha, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
part of our staff report was that there was a permit issued for one of the sheds. I think we identified it as number 3. That was permitted in compliance, but it was put in the wrong place. Do you give me an idea? That nobody seems to understand how that happened, but maybe you have an idea.
We don't.
Did you were you there when you constructed the shed, or was it after the fact?
I was there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second?
A motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Motion carries. It's approved. Now, you do understand you're going to have to move the one shed onto your property. You can't have it across the property line.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, next item.
Item number 9 is a variance request for 3470 Lazy River Terrace, which is located in the Riverside Reserve subdivision. The request is for an east side street setback reduction from 15 feet to 10 feet for a privacy fence in the Cameron Heights plan development. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The east side of the property on Lazy River Terrace is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence 5 feet into the required side street setback. The proposed privacy fence is approximately 11 feet 9 inches from the sidewalk and 22 feet 7 inches from the edge of pavement. The Riverside Reserve Homeowners Association has approved the installation of the fence. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add? Okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck. All right,
Item number-
next item.
Don't push your luck.
Item number 10 is 2 variance requests for 609 Spring Valley Drive, located in the Spring Valley Farm subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 30 feet to 10 feet and a west side yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 4 feet for an accessory structure in the R1 AAA zoning district. The request is to bring into compliance the construction of a 540-square-foot carport, 20 feet into the rear yard setback and 6 feet into the west side yard setback. A code enforcement violation, number 21-202, was issued for the structure, resulting in the necessity of this variance. 2 letters of opposition have been received from affected neighbors on the rear. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Please state your name and address.
My name is Daniel Tazinski. I live at 609 Spring Valley Road, Altamont Springs.
Okay, sir, what do you have to tell us?
The accessory structure is a covering for our pontoon boat, so our family uses that quite a bit, and with all the rain and everything, it just really wreaks havoc on it. So the intent was to protect the boat itself so we could, ensure the longevity of the boat and make it, fun for future use for our family. I've also checked with our homeowners association. There is no restrictions in regards to this type of structure within the bylaws of the homeowners association. I have a letter from our president stating that. And then I also have some signatures from other neighbors that have said that they are okay. They are okay with the structure itself, and they don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Have you spoken to the two neighbors that are in opposition?
I did not.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sorry, I should have, a question for staff, and I'm sorry I didn't ask this sooner. The folks who've sent us letters in opposition, are those the adjacent neighbors?
Yeah, I updated the map and.
Oh, there we go, right in front of me. Gotcha.
And that is what I was going to ask.
Yeah, all right. Thank you,
The rear
ma'am.
ones, yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
Where do these folks live, sir?
They're on the front side of the house. They can see it up from the driveway.
Across the street?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
my question is, obviously, there's a code enforcement violation. Why was there no permit pulled for the structure?
I didn't realize there was one. There are quite a few other existing structures like this within the neighborhood, which to me, I thought that set a precedence that there was, that those were okay. There was nothing in the bylaws for our homeowners association that something like that was required. So my mistake, I did not understand that that was going to be required based on what I observed in the neighborhood and our, what I say in our bylaws. So, and I'm fairly new to the area, so, I wasn't, abreast of all that. So that's a hit on me.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Based off staff recommendation, I'm actually going to move to decline.
Second.
We have a motion to decline. We have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Tazinski is well-intentioned. I mean, honest mistakes can happen. And of course, what the HOA thinks is not relevant to what we do, but seeing neighbors in opposition, I'm a big believer in investment-backed expectations of property owners and property rights. And I think we have to have respect for that, and that's why I support the motion.
Mr. Chair, I also kind of agree with Mr. Hadaway as well. It's nothing. I know. It's not a personal thing. It's you have to show. To me, you have to show reason or cause. Like if you had bought the house and it was already there, and then you kind of took over somebody else's problem. Property rights and making sure that you observe the neighbors. And in this case, I saw, that was the first thing I looked at was where was it going in the yard? And it's going in the back. And then I see the two people opposed to it were the people in towards the back of them. And as a, sitting up here, I have to recognize that other people also have the rights to their own property, to what they see in their backyard as well, or what's behind them. So that was my motion. It was nothing personal. It's just that's kind of our duty up here.
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It's denied, sir, but you may appeal our decision to the Board of County Commissioners within 15 days. If you get with staff, they can explain how to do it. All right, next item.
Item number 11 is 2 variance requests for 2435 West Lake Brantley Drive, located in the Lake Brantley Isles subdivision. The requests are for a north side yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 4.4 feet and a south side yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 5.2 feet for a boathouse in the R1AA zoning district. The request is to replace an existing 276 square foot boathouse encroaching 4.8 feet into the north side yard setback and 5.6 feet into the south side. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
So is the existing boathouse in the same footprint, or is
I
this just
believe
bigger?
so.
I'll ask the applicant. I'm
Yes.
just, okay. Any questions for staff?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. In the report, I guess the shed back there was permitted?
Correct. There's 2 sheds actually back there that received variances back in 2005.
Do we know if the boathouse was there at that time, or was this all part of the same construction?
I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Evening, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Adam Scallione, 2435 West Lake Brantley Drive in Longwood. I do have 2 letters from each neighbor on either side
Okay.
that are okay with it. It is obviously an existing boathouse, that the reason why I bought the house when I did buy it in 2013. And I'm just trying to bring it up to code and make it safe for my family.
The new boathouses is on the same footprint as the old
It'll be
one?
the same footprint. Right now, there's an upper deck on it, which I'm not going to have an upper
So
deck.
it'll be
I'm-
shorter?
I'm just going to make just a roof that, yeah, because the upper deck is, it's
How
a
much-
nice thing to walk up there, but you look at the
How
canal.
much shorter is it going to be?
With the railing, it's going to be probably, over tall the railing is 4.5 feet, 5 feet shorter, because it's just going to be, a roof. That's it.
Any questions for the applicant?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Were you the applicant when they asked for the variance on the shed construction?
No, that was,
That was,
I don't know how many owners before me, but
Okay.
the house was built, I believe, in '96. I'm not sure exactly when the boathouse was built. I think it was sometime shortly after that. I think
all the structure, the boathouse and those other structures were back there already?
Oh, when I bought the house, yeah. I
okay.
bought the house in 2003. They were all there. But I think the sheds came after the boathouse, just from looking at old pictures that were in the house.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck to you. Thank you. All right, next item.
Item number 12 is a variance request for 201 Donegal Avenue, located in the Greenwood Lake subdivision. The request is for an east side street setback reduction from 25 feet to 5.5 feet for a privacy fence in the Greenwood Lakes Plan Development. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Donegal Avenue. The Tipperary Drive side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a 6-foot privacy fence 19.5 feet into the side street setback. The privacy fence is 7.5 feet from the sidewalk and 22 feet from the edge of pavement. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a utility easement along the rear, and at building permitting will be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. The Greenwood Lakes Homeowners Association has approved the fence. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
There looks like on the picture that looks like there's a fence there already. Is this going on to the same location? Do you know?
Yeah, I didn't see that there was
I
one
read
there,
in
so
the
I'm not sure.
description it was.
Yeah,
It was-
okay.
And then also I had a question, Hillary, as well, is when it comes to, it looks like there were multitude other 117 Tipperary Drive as well. Other variants have been granted throughout the neighborhood for similar fences?
There's 2 other houses that he provided pictures for, and both of those receive variances for 10 feet, not 5 feet.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
that sounds about right. Yep. Okay. All right, any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Sir, come on down. Good evening.
Evening.
Please state your name and address.
Richard Quinones and 201 Donegal Avenue.
Okay, I just want to confirm, the fence you're asking to construct, is that going where the fence is in the photograph?
Yes, that one's falling apart.
Right, okay, but you're looking at putting the exact same location?
Yes.
And how long has that fence been there?
I don't know, I just bought that home 3 years ago.
Okay. Okay, any questions for the applicant? Is there anything else you'd like to tell us, sir?
No,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Yes, sir, come on down. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Arthur Booth, and I live at 131 Donegal Avenue. I'm the mirror house to his house.
Okay.
Which he granted the variance to me just a few years before. The fence on his property has been there since I've been there, and I've lived there since October 1980. So it's
been a minute.
It's been there, and it's been fixed and several times, so, yeah. And the other house is at the end of the street, but when you park, when you come down the side street there temporary, you have plenty of vision for traffic. So that was one of the pictures that I did for my variance showing, you know, where you would be sitting in the middle of the road looking to oncoming traffic.
All right, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
A motion to approve, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second? Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, enjoy your fence. Good luck. All right, next item.
Un momento. Okay, item number 13 is a variance request for a turn at 2314 Ivy Harvest Place, located in the Chapman Pine subdivision. The request is for a north side street setback reduction from 20 feet to 3 feet for a privacy fence in the R1BB zoning district. The subject property has a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Ivy Harvest Place. The Tranquil Spruce Way side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence 17 feet into the side street setback. The proposed privacy fence is 3 feet from the sidewalk and 13 feet from the edge of pavement. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a utility easement and on the side street, landscape easement on the rear, and drainage easement on the side yard. At building permitting, they'll be required to meet the criteria for placement within a estoppel letter. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. The homeowners association for the community hasn't been formed yet, but a letter from Pulte Home representative was received approving a fence at up to 3 feet from the sidewalk. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Sir, come on down. Good evening.
Good evening.
State your name and address, please.
Anthony Brown, 2314 Ivy Harvest Place.
Okay, what would you like to tell us?
Just that we're trying to get from the sidewalk to the side of the house. If you look at the backyard, the opening is 20 feet exactly, so we can't even get a fence on the side. We also got a pool that's going in that they need that north side to put at least 5 or 6 feet for pool equipment, and then maybe some feet to get around the pool equipment. So we really didn't know until after we signed and they closed that there was a 20-foot setback from the corner. We thought we were going to have some space on the side.
So from the side of your house to the sidewalk is about how far?
20 feet exactly.
20 feet exactly.
Correct.
And so, I'm just thinking in my mind, so pool equipment's 5 feet, you said?
You said about 6. You said
6 feet?
between 5 to 6.
And then maybe a couple more feet?
Yeah.
So what you need, let's say if we round up to 10 feet, so could you do what you needed to do? I'm just asking for my purposes, if you had a 10-foot setback off of the sidewalk.
So the more the better for us, just to be
Right.
able to use that space. We're actually doing pavers all the way to the back, 5-foot setback. So any of the side yard that we're able to gain is going to be grass for playground, stuff like that, yeah.
But your pool equipment and such would fit in okay, right?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a second? Discussion? I personally am more inclined to support the request if it was 10 feet instead of 3 feet. It leaves him adequate room for his pool enclosure and still gives adequate room off the sidewalk. That's just my opinion.
Is it a proposed amendment?
Well, that's up to them on that.
No, I mean,
They made the motion.
I see your side of it, but I also see his side of it with pavers and everything else, wanting to kind of maximize that area. So, and I don't see, he's got it right across the street. We got the pictures as well, the open. Now, I know there is, Bernard, you are correct, is that it's not directly, it looks like there's about 5 feet right off that sidewalk right there, but I'm fine with it. I mean, I know it's a new area, not to mention that I read in his disclosure that Pulte did not share with him that there was a shocker, that it did not share that there was a setback as well, and I just, unfortunately, it's a common tale, and I don't think you should have to pay for that.
All right, any more discussion?
I agree with you that, I would, the intent here is that we're supposed to look at the minimum encroachment. It's not the minimum. I don't know if I agree with 10 feet, or what, that number, but, I'm saying it's, my reason I would probably not argue with it is the fact that there's right-of-way on the front, right-of-way on the right, there's no adjacent neighbors to it. It's not really impacting anybody at this point, so.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a standstill. So is there any modification that we might look at? Is there a happy medium, split the baby, so to speak?
So, well,
Can I, Mr. Chair, sorry.
I was like, between 20 and 10 is 15.
Well, I was going to ask, and maybe I'll ask staff this, is that on the graphic that we have of the site plan, it looks like there's an angle that's been placed on that rear of the fence there where it goes from yellow to blue. I was just trying to understand what that was.
Is there a hydrant or something?
My guess would be that they're angling it to match with the subdivision wall, but I'm not entirely sure.
Well, my compromise would be if we're reducing the distance there, is that might be a starting point to reduce the variance request, Again, not coming up with
Can I
a,
ask you one question?
Yeah.
What is the angle for on the back of the
It's
property?
to connect with the wall. The wall's
To
angled.
connect- That's where the wall comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
if you look
I
in the
mean-
picture right here, the sidewalk also angles
how-
that way.
Approximately, what is the difference between that wall and the fence, as far as the angle? Are we talking 2 feet, 5 feet?
I couldn't tell you, unfortunately. I mean, the pictures probably are going to give me a better.
just graphically, the way it's drawn, we're looking at probably somewhere around 7 feet, from the
Sidewalk.
And like I said, if you're looking for a compromise, maybe bringing that, asking the applicant to reconsider and bring it from the end of the wall straight forward, would reduce the,
Okay.
it's not the 10-foot that you were speaking about, but
I mean, I'm okay with asking and as well as, you're asking for 20, Bernard's happy at 10. We got a stalemate. Would you be okay with 15?
Which is proposed 17, right? So 15, 3 feet forward, is that what it is?
So he's saying 5 feet off the sidewalk.
5 feet off the sidewalk.
I'm fine with that. That's the best we can do.
All right, I'd like to amend my motion, please, sir.
Okay, make a new motion, that one.
My new motion would be to go ahead and to approve it with 15-foot setback instead of the 20 that was asked for.
No.
Oh, wait, no. 5 foot, sorry. 5 foot.
5 feet.
5 foot, sorry.
Gotcha.
Man, you make one mistake.
I like where you were going with it, but you wouldn't like it.
It's like,
he was already
whoa.
saying aye.
He was going for his gun.
Okay, we have a motion to make the
Second.
setback 5 feet
Yes.
instead of 3 feet.
You make
We
one
have a
mistake.
second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's approved at 5 feet, sir. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Like yours, perfect.
All right, next item.
Item number 14 is a variance request for 4531, and I'm going to mess this one up too. Sealis Way, I'll go with it. Located in the estuary at St. John subdivision. The request is for an east side street setback reduction from 15 feet to 5 feet for a privacy fence in the gateway at St. John's Plan Development. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Sealess Way. The Paget Cove side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence 10 feet into the side street setback. The proposed privacy fence is 5 feet from the sidewalk and 17 feet from the edge of pavement. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a utility easement, and a building permitting will be required to meet the criteria for placement within a estoppel letter. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Sir, come on down. You're the last contestant.
The best for last.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, this is Mohan Sivasankappa, 4531 Sellers Way, Sanford.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
I am good.
Are you good? Any questions for the applicant? I made you stand up for no reason. I'm sorry. You have a seat.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to support the request? Is there anyone willing to, or who wants to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
A motion to approve. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. It's approved. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next, minutes, additions, deletions, changes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve is second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It's approved. Anything else for the good of the order? Y'all have a great night. We're adjourned.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you're-